Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here for an interview on schizoaffective disorder. So just to start with, would you be willing to share about how your mental health symptoms first appeared and kind of when you first realized that you were struggling with your mental health?
So they first appeared around like 2022 November-ish. So I was around 12 at the time, and I started having really like dissociative symptoms with DBDR and stuff. And then it slowly evolved and like snowballed into other symptoms like delusions, mood swings, hallucinations, stuff like that. And it was quite difficult, and I didn't really know it was wrong until a lot of my friends were telling me like, "Hey, you should probably be getting help." So then I reached out to my parents, and yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for that answer. And I guess one question for your parent is, what were some of the first signs that you noticed about struggles with mental health? And I guess also, what advice do you have for other parents who might be in a similar situation?
Well, the symptoms were we will say they were very easily go unnoticed. So if she didn't come to us and told us about like what she's having, we wouldn't have known that she's got the issue. So yeah, for those parents out there, probably if your kids came up to you and say like, "Mom, I'm not feeling good" and stuff, just um like listen and then don't think of it as like unimportant, because she came to me like a couple of times. She said, "Mom, I can't sleep," and then she looked very tired. So once in a while she went to sleep for the whole day, and then at some on some days she couldn't sleep at all until like 1 or 2 in the morning. And when she came to me, I was like, "Then stop playing with your phone in your room, just turn off your phone," because she was on the phone all the time at the time, like like what teens do, right? So we didn't think more of it. Yeah. So maybe that's like when your kids come up to you and tell them that they're not feeling all right, just listen, and maybe there's something behind of what
Yes,
they're feeling.
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
very important advice. Thank you.
Yes.
And I think in our previous conversation, you'd shared that you were first diagnosed with bipolar. So would you be willing to share kind of what led up to you receiving that first diagnosis and how you felt when you received it?
So I went to my psychiatrist around June, July-ish, and she told me I had bipolar disorder because of my mood swings. And she didn't really focus on the fact that I had psychotic aspects to it and that my psychosis was outside of my mood swings. So that's what led to my bipolar disorder diagnosis. I've actually felt quite happy that I was diagnosed because I finally had a label as to what I was going on in my life. I was scared, I was tired of what was going on. At some points, I was even suicidal, and it was a really hard time. And it was really like happy for me to understand that, hey, there's a label for this, there's a way to solve this. It may be there for the rest of your life, but at least there's a way to manage it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that answer. And I completely agree. Sometimes having that label and understanding can be such a relief. And then kind of for the parents' perspective, how did you feel when you initially learned about your child's diagnosis? And are there any resources or I guess just people in your life that were especially helpful at that time?
It was hard because we were told and we knew that mental illness is for life. Like you cannot be cured of it. It's manageable, but it's like it's gonna be there forever. And from my point of view, from myself, first it was very hard to accept, because like I was thinking that there are some things that she wouldn't be able to do. There are some things that she wouldn't be able to, like some of the freedoms are taken away from her. Yeah, but over time I learned that like it's okay as long as she's not missing those things. Like what the young people do. For real, I was thinking like, oh, she cannot go partying, she cannot she cannot stay up late because she has to maintain her body clock, stuff like that. But then I think that's not really
A
like
bad thing,
that's not
yeah.
really a bad thing. Like she's living healthily and it gives her a good routine for the rest of her life. So yeah, it was quite a while to accept that she's having the mental illness issue. Yeah, it's it's a journey.
It's a journey
It's a
for sure,
journey.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I know one kind of key part of, I guess, mental health maintenance can be medication. So I was just also wondering, what was your initial experience with medication like?
my initial experience medication, I was sleeping like 14, 12 hours a day. I was sedated a lot. And I don't remember much of it that happened because I was so heavily medicated. And I remember going to Korea and only eating red bean donuts. Yeah, I don't remember much.
It was a dark period.
Yeah, it was a dark period.
of
Yeah.
all of our lives. Yeah, it was the worst. It was the worst 6 months. So maybe you wanna talk about why the medication make you feel bad?
Yeah, I don't really remember much, but I think the medication made me feel bad because I was put on the medication that wasn't suitable for me and that I was put on too much of it. So it was really difficult because I couldn't read at all. At some point I couldn't read. At some point I couldn't really write. I couldn't really go to school anymore because I was paranoid half the time. And it was difficult, yeah.
She actually went worse with after the medication than she was prior to the medications.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
That's
Sorry about that.
that
It
was
was
very
terrifying, yeah.
very concerning. So every day I had to give the medication to her, right? Because I cannot. I have to remind her that you have to take the medication. I was like, oh, is it like I'm very worried because I'm giving her medication, but it's making her worse. But if I don't give the medication, I know like the mental illness needs those medication to survive or to just to go on with their life. But I don't think it's helping. So it was
confusing, yeah.
It was a very difficult time, like you're giving things to help your kid, but you don't know whether it's helping or not. And we didn't have many options at that time. Yeah, maybe, yeah. We didn't have many options because the psychiatrist like just gave us those medication. And here, like where we live, we didn't have many like the mental illness issue is not very
established.
Yeah, it's not very developed. I think it's my opinion, right?
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And I can imagine how difficult that must be if first you're having all these sort of challenges with mental health, and then the thing that's supposed to be helping is actually making it even
making it worse.
Oh, she was all over the place.
Yeah, it was really bad.
All over the place.
And one kind of follow-up question that I have on the list is how have your experiences or mental health changed now that you found a medication that works for you better?
Oh, it's been a game changer for sure. I'm more alert. I can actually go to school now, and my mood swings. I haven't had mood swings in months. Like maybe
there were a few, but they were very little. So like she said, I'm a bit depressed, but then like she could still go to school and she didn't like sleep that much. So the medication has been containing her like going up or going down phase a lot.
Yes.
So like I can tell when she's a bit like energetic, I'm thinking like, oh, maybe she's a bit, she's going a bit hypo. But it didn't go to the point where like prior, before she was like couldn't control herself, and just when people can see that something is wrong.
Yeah.
Now she's just being happy and cheerful.
Yeah, it's much more controlled, and my psychosis is pretty mild now. I wouldn't say it's gone, but it's mild and it's controllable. Yeah, it's fine.
That's wonderful to hear. And one other kind of question I have under the medication section is what led you both to realize that medication is really kind of a top factor? I think previously we discussed how without a good medication, even therapy may not be that effective.
Yeah, you wanna talk about it?
Okay, sure.
Maybe you wanna talk about like how you got the medications changed, because that's
crucial. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we went to there's no like the therapist here. We couldn't really like talk because of language barriers and stuff like that. So my mom found a therapist abroad, and we went through Zoom. And she was a bit concerned because I wasn't really improving. Positively
affected by the medication.
So we also talked to a psychiatrist abroad from her, and yeah, that's where we got the medication changed. And how do I say this?
So yeah, she got a new therapist, and like she went through like, is this your third therapist?
Yeah, third therapist.
Yeah, she went through like 2 therapists until we found the current one where she's mostly suited. And the new medication like all the medication, almost all of the medication were changed. So yeah, so it was very different. And all the medications she had now, it's like we don't have it here at home.
Yeah, it's all
So we have to
abroad
get them. Yeah, so we have to get them
delivered. Yeah.
delivered. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And kind of speaking of therapists, the next question I have is, do you have any advice for clinicians or psychiatrists or therapists who are working with people with schizoaffective disorder?
Oh, wait, let me get back to your sorry, your
Oh,
previous question. Yes, we haven't answered that
Oh
yet.
yeah, we
oh,
around.
okay.
Sorry.
Oh
Yeah, you
no,
asked
I'm
us
sorry. I
why.
jumped ahead
Yeah,
too soon.
you asked us how do we know that medication is like number one to deal
Yeah.
with this, and then therapy is number two, because you want to explain?
Okay. So when we were on my first therapist and we were on the not really suitable medication, no, I couldn't really focus during the therapy sessions, and I couldn't really understand and like grasp what she was saying. So it felt kind of like not really useful for us to go to like therapy with the
Yeah.
wrong medication.
So it's like if your brain is not
Working.
being made working, then how are you supposed to handle like take all the advice and all the approach to therapy?
Yeah.
So you have to stabilize your neurotransmitters first, I suppose. Then you can
Understand and grasp
more.
what's happening in
Yes,
therapy.
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's why we know medication is number one.
That
And
definitely
I'm just adding another point why I think therapy is very important, especially for her, because she's such a young age, and there were limitations on what her body can handle with the medicines, because they are not like light medicines. They have side effects and all. Like she's got a lot of side effects. Maybe you want to talk about it later. If not, then so she's currently on maximum dose on all of her medication. So nothing can be increased anymore, because they give her side effects that's like really hindering her day-to-day functions. So she's got some residual symptoms that's very, very light, and that's when therapy comes in. She has to learn to handle those level of her symptoms from her inside instead of the
Rely on
medications.
medication. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that answer.
Yes.
And I guess the next question I have is just about your advice for clinicians who are working with people with schizoaffective disorder, and also if there's any other resources that kind of in an ideal world that you wish were available. Where
It's not really advice, because I'm no professional and they're the smart one, but it's just really from as a patient and the family, from our perspective. If you think you cannot handle your patient situation, maybe
it's best to hand it over to another professional.
just let them know, instead of just trying to
Reinforce
different medication on them,
it,
like a guinea pig, because it's no fun to be on the other side, on the receiving end. So yeah, that's just I think it's an ethical issue also, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what we expect for medical facilities here, yeah, we hope one day, hopefully close in the future, that mental health is more, how do you say, more
open,
open, and get more attention here, because it is real, it is hard, but it is something that people can easily overlook, because you really cannot see the physical signs.
Yes, it's all symptomatic.
And there's no test, there's no lab to prove it. So everything is through the professional diagnosis only. So sometimes it's hard for people to accept. Like they can say, like, you're just making excuses, stuff like that. And here it doesn't have much attention, like from the health facilities wise. For example, like in the hospital, we don't have psychic ward. In the private hospital, we don't have psychic ward. We don't have many professional options, like many psychiatrist options or therapists. We do have, but
it's limited.
It's limited, yeah. And I don't think, sorry if but this is my opinion based from our own personal experience. I don't think their qualification or their standard is not up to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I completely agree with the point about clinicians kind of trying to work within their scope because trying to go outside of that can be, unfortunately, can make the patient feel a little bit like a guinea pig, which isn't.
Yes, which is
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. The next question is a little bit of a jump in topics, but I'd love to hear about your experience with school, kind of what you enjoy, what you find challenging, and of
Yeah.
course the parents' perspective on that as well.
When I first came to school, like when I first went back to school from the medication, I couldn't really focus at all. And I had a lot of issues with just trying to be able to catch up with the topics and just go through school as a daily, you know. It's really hard when you're medicated and stuff. But over time, when especially with the right medication and with the therapy and coping with the symptoms and everything, it's definitely gotten a lot easier and I can actually enjoy school again, you know. I used to be a straight A student, and like when I was overly medicated, it absolutely crushed my self-esteem. I couldn't really go to school because like I was scared of failing because I knew that I was gonna fail, you know.
Do you want to talk about how your hypomanic episode actually like boost your confidence and boost your
when I was before I was diagnosed, I was manic pretty much all the time. So I was pretty confident in my schoolworks. I was pretty much constantly studying. I was like always on the grind.
everything was so easy.
Everything was easy, yeah.
There was a point when she was overly medicated. She came to me and she said, "I missed my manic episode."
Yeah, sorry to say.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's very understandable. Yeah, I've heard that kind of anecdotally, like that experience from other friends who have experienced mania. That sometimes the hypomania can be a time that's missed because of sort of the increased energy.
Yes.
with it.
Yeah.
And then I was also wondering, for your mother's perspective, is there? I think in our previous conversation, you noted like some ways that you had to be sort of resilient in contacting the schools and working things,
Yes.
kind of making sure that mental health is such a
Yes.
priority. Would you be
Yes.
just kind of share about that?
Yes. So I'm gonna tell you, she was on the old medication for 6 months, right? And she went from okay, like still passing with good grades prior to the diagnosis, to literally just downhill to the bottom
Yeah, like
in
zero.
those 6 months when she was on the wrong medication. So I know, because she said she was a straight A student. She was a self achiever. We never like demand. We never demand her to get good grades and stuff. She's just like that. She just likes to get good grades. And I know that once she like once she realized that she can't go to school like the old ways, it will crush her self-esteem and it will not be good for her. So
Yeah, just knowing that you're gonna fail and
and I know that she would not want to not pass the year. So I had to go to school multiple times trying to make the school understand when to see the principal, when to see the home teachers, like getting notes from the doctors, just trying whatever way to get her, like, how do you say, leniency. So her school hours were also very very short. She went to school like late, sometimes an hour 2 hours. She needs to go home because she said, "Mom, I'm paranoid, I'm suicidal, I feel like jumping off the building, stuff like that." So, and she cannot grasp anything in school, so might as well just take her home. So basically she didn't go to school for
6 months.
Almost a year.
Almost
A year. So the teachers just gave her like extra
work,
extra work,
projects.
and they just scrape grades from nothing.
Yeah.
They just built up her grade from nothing. So last year she just passed. I'm fine with that as long as she passed. Like, you don't need to get good grades. Your priority is
Your mental health.
mental health at that time. But yes, as a parent, I think you need to know if you need to work with the school, then go for it. Like, just go see the principal, get notes from the doctors, get notes from the therapist, and find ways to boost her, your kids' grades up. Get some extra assignments that they can do at home, and then whatever,
anything really.
anything, just get some extra scores. Because he misses all tests, he missed the exams, he missed the homework, he missed everything. So there was like actually zero score for her at that time.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that answer. And I'm glad that you were able to kind of like find a way to work with the school to navigate that. And then one question that I had that I think you touched on a little bit earlier as well is, what are some misconceptions about mental health that you've heard, or what do you wish that people maybe understood better? And on the flip side, is there anything that people have said that has been really supportive and helpful for you?
I feel like depression is really, really misunderstood with a lot of people. I feel like most people just think depression is just feeling sad or just being down, but it really is more than that. It really is. It's crippling, actually. When I was depressed, I couldn't get out of bed, and I felt so numb inside. I couldn't really feel anything. I just felt dead. I just wanted to die. It was awful. And depression is just, how do you say this? It's just something you don't want. Like, I know people nowadays, they romanticize it and they say, "Oh, I'm so depressed all the time." Like, it really is more than that. What else do I say?
No, sorry, that's I appreciate the answer. Sorry. I was just yeah, thinking about that, and yeah, I imagine that is pretty difficult.
It's difficult to understand again because there's no physical symptoms. It's all based on your evaluation.
Yeah.
And it's hard to for people. Even I myself cannot really get the grasp of depression, because when you don't have it, then you don't understand. It's like if this physical pain, then like, oh, I got a broken bone. Like when you bump yourself, it hurts. So you can imagine, like, if something inside breaks, it's gonna, how painful it will be. But the thing with mental illness is it's very intangible.
It's hard to see.
It's very intangible. Like, it's very hard to understand. Like, hypomania. Like, how do you understand hypomania? I'm just gonna think it's a lot of energy. That's it. But I think for people who experience manic, or people who cannot control it, it's different. For me, it's just people being very energetic. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that sometimes people can be so drawn to what's tangible. Like if there's a broken bone or an injury, they can see it and maybe understand it a little bit better. But for things that are more internal, there just doesn't seem to be a level of understanding.
And especially with delusion, sometimes from what I learned from my daughter's experience is, you don't talk down a delusion, because for them it's real.
Yes.
You cannot talk logic with them at that point. So for example, she was delusional at one point. This was before this was after the new medication, but like just a few months in. So there was still a lot of residual symptoms. She was not yet stable. So she believed that the whole family, me and the dad and the brother, we were all
replaced
by another entity. I don't know what. So she didn't want to take her meds because she was worried that I'm gonna poison the meds. She didn't want to get out of the room. She didn't want to eat. Yeah, and then we learned from the therapist not to try to reason with her, not try to to put
fight
logic.
it. Yeah,
just go along with it. Just find a way on how to get her to get the meds. So it's like playing tricks on her tricky mind.
Yeah.
So what I did was, I remember, okay, because I have this pill box, right, for the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, where I put all the meds, so we know when we skip one. So I said, okay, what if I prepare the meds in its original package? Like, it's not how do you say, it's not tempered. It's not tempered. So I cannot do anything with the meds if it's in the sealed position, right? And then I said, like, I'm just gonna put it here. I'm gonna go to my room. I'm gonna hide there. You go down. You eat. You get your meds. Take your meds and then go back to your room. And like, luckily, she still wanted to negotiate at that time. And yeah, she took the meds.
Yeah.
That way. So yeah, it's just a thing to know that, like, with delusional people, like people with no issue, sometimes it's hard to understand, because this is another personal experience. I have another family member who's got schizophrenia, right? And sometimes when she's in psychosis, like, she's talking nonsense. She has different belief that we know that it's not real. It makes no sense at all. And another family member would try to talk sense into her, and it would not come out good. Like, it will make everything worse.
Yeah, they got in fights and
Yeah,
stuff.
so I learned not to do that. And maybe it's an advice for all the people out there who's dealing with people with psychosis, delusion, paranoia, whatever. Not fight it, just
Just try
not
to
just go along with it, but not also
don't
like
encourage it.
don't encourage it. Just acknowledge that it's there and wait for it to pass out.
Yeah,
to
pass away.
yeah, not pass out, sorry. To pass away.
Yeah, no, that's a great piece of advice, and I love the example you gave of sort of the problem solving with the medication. That's very creative, and I'm
Well,
glad that
she
it
had to
worked.
take the meds. I don't know, like,
Yeah, absolutely.
she had to take the meds.
Um, and then the last question I have is just, is there anything else that either of you would like to add that I haven't asked about?
I think it's very important for people struggling, like especially teenagers who are under like parents and stuff, to what if you're struggling, just to try to tell your parents that you're struggling, because the, at least there's hope there, you know. You can
Yeah, it might be nothing, it might be something.
yes.
So if you don't speak up, you will not know. I was very glad that she came to us, and actually she wrote me a
Letter, yeah.
letter, yeah, told me about all her symptoms. Then I took her to the psychiatrist the day after straight away. But it was really sad. It really broke our hearts as parents to know that she's been struggling with those symptoms for a year. You know how hard it is to, every day you woke up and then you went to school, you were paranoid of your friends hurting you, and then you got the DPDR, the depersonalization, yeah. And then she had to force herself to wake up in the morning, and she's depressed, and then she had to went to lesson without us knowing that she's having all these other issues to deal with, and she's still
Acting normal,
acting normal. Yeah, she's putting a mask on, and she's still trying to achieve good grades at that time. That was crazy.
Well, I just wanted to thank you both so much again for the chance to interview you and for all the like really great advice and insight on the topic. Yeah, I appreciate it a lot.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you,
One
Sam.
more thing, Sam.
Oh, awesome.
Yes, about medication.
Yeah.
If you think it's not like working, then you should speak up and insist that something needs to be done.
Changed, yeah.
Yes, because we were at that point for the whole 6 months, and we stuck to the same medications, and it's not getting any better. But once we move to the different medication, we can see straight away the improvement. It doesn't take that long.
Although
Yeah.
this take a year for it, like
to stabilize. But
yeah.
we see improvement, like, in incremental improvement, not like going downhill, but going uphill slowly.
Yeah.
And also another one is for the doctors to listen to the patient if they have like side effects and stuff, just to take them seriously. Yes.
Definitely.
That's all.
Yes.
Yeah, that collaborative approach with the patients can be so important. Yeah, thank you.
It is very important. Yes.